Do you wonder where people get their creative ideas? Sometimes it can be as simple as a blog post. You've shared that you see the cute scrapbook pages, but you don't quite know how to do it. So let me guide you step by step and take you right through from blog post to finished page. If you love this idea and want to recreate this page yourself, I hope you will consider my Creative Memories link as your go-to. It's truly appreciated. Now let's gather and let's do this together. I had a conversation with someone the other day and I realized that so many of you, so many of us are not taking advantage of the beautiful projects that we're seeing on the Creative Memories blog. And so I just wanted to take one and do it start to finish with you and just show you a few tips and tricks on how to accomplish what is there. And this is using mostly the Wide Open Places collection. This would be so cute whether you went to a petting zoo or you have a few animals at your place. Maybe you went to a 4-H fair. Just anything that's kind of set in the country would be super cute with this. So the first thing, of course, is to look at what you will need to complete the layout. And it says that you need the Wide Open Places paper pack and texture paper pack. So let's look here. The Wide Open Places designer paper pack, so I will need that. And the Wide Open Places texture paper pack, which I will need there. We need the Wide Open Places stickers, so I have that here. And then hot fudge and white solid cardstocks. So brown and a white solid cardstock, which I have. And my 12-inch trimmer is a tool that I will need. Micro tip scissors. These are not the micro tip, but these are my older Creative Memories scissors. And then we need a tape runner and a repositionable tape runner. We need foam squares, a brown dual tip pen. And there's one thing they don't list, but I think I use this in every situation when I'm scrapbooking, and that is the multi-purpose tool. If you do not have this little gem, this is one of my absolute favorites. If you have ever stuck something down and need to pick it back up and move it just a little bit, this thing is so good. It's really thin and it just slides right under your picture or your element or your paper that you're sticking down and just lifts it so nicely without bending. Sometimes if you pull the corner up, you bend just a little bit. This thing is great. It's also wonderful when you're trying to position small letters and that kind of thing. And it doesn't matter if they are sticker letters or something you've die cut. This thing is amazing. It kind of keeps your fingers out of the way, so to speak. So little plug on the multi-purpose tool. Best tool ever. So it says use the sheet metal texture paper for the base of this layout. And that is this piece right here. If you are following along exactly, it has corrugated sheet metal on the back. So this is just a really light gray. It almost looks like it has a little bit of little rusty spots in it. It's really cute. And I do like working on this cutting mat. This is actually something that I use for my custom cutting system. But with all the markings here, this allows me to really position things correctly. So if I am putting a border or a border strip, let's say something like this, and I want it to be completely even, if I have this centered right here, I can see the 6-inch mark there and the 6-inch mark there and just adhere that down. Otherwise, when you're not using markings like that and you're eyeballing it, sometimes you're like that. And that doesn't bother a lot of people, but if it bothers you, this might be a great way to work on your projects, is having that little mat underneath. So little segue, a little bonus tip there for you. So this says cut 10 pieces of various papers to measure 3.5 inches by 1 inch. So we're going to be building that silo. and adhere those to the right edge of the layout for the silo. Okay. All right, so we're going to be building this silo, and we're cutting 3.5 by 1 inch strips. And I have, for the sake of time, just cut some 1 inch strips ahead of time. And because you can use a variety of colors in that silo, we can use both sides, which is really handy. So we're going to cut those at 3.5 inches using my favorite little tool here. And because I can use both sides, I'm going to cut 2 of those at 3.5 inches. And I am going to do the same for the rest of my papers. Okay, and we have our silo completed. That was quick and easy. All right, let's see what the next steps are. For step 3, cut a piece of the diamond metal plate designer paper 3.5 inches by 1 3/4 inches. Okay, so this is my diamond plate metal, 3.5 by 1 3/4. So let's cut it 1 3/4. We'll line it right up there and give it a trim. Three and a half. Line it up right there and give it a trim. So essentially this is just a little bit wider than the strips we cut for the silo already. Add a 1 inch pencil mark from the top left corner down and over, and cut from marking to marking to create the silo. So we're going to create the 2 corners from the silo, and I have my markings right here on my trimmer, so I'm just going to use those because it's handy. And it wants us to measure over 1 inch, so I'm going to measure over 1 inch, which is right here, and I'm just going to put a little mark right there. And then this is 3.5. I want to measure over 1 inch, so I'm going to just do a little mark right there, and that's where I'm going to cut. And then it wants you to cut down to the 1 inch. So let's start right there on the 2 inch and go down to the 1. And I'll flip it around and I'll do the other side from 1 down 1 inch. So those are going to be my cutting lines. So I'm just going to line that up from mark to mark on a cutting line. And give that a trim. And I'll do the same with the other side from mark to mark and trim those off. And then we're going to adhere that right to the top there. All right, silo is done. That's the fastest anyone has ever built a silo. I don't know about you guys, but I live, we have a farm. My husband has a dairy farm, And most people don't use silos anymore. Did you know that? Fun little fact. If you have any idea what we use in place of silos, go ahead and put that in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. All right, let's go on to step number 4. Cut a piece of red barnwood texture paper to measure 9 inches by 10 inches. All right, let's see. So here's my barnwood paper, and I've actually already cut this. So it is 10 inches tall and 9 inches wide. And from the top left corner, mark 3 inches in both directions. So top left corner, we're going to mark 3 inches and 3 inches. And then we're going to do that on the right side as well. So let's just move this out of the way, and I'm going to use my little handy measuring tool here. Do 3 inches there, put a little mark, and 3 inches there, we'll put a little mark, and we'll do that on that left side as well. Measure down 3 inches and put a mark there, 3 inches over, put a mark there. And again, we're going to trim from dot to dot, so that we can create the angle of this barn. So you're going to line up your mark here and your mark here right on your cutting lines. Trim that off, and I'll do that other side as well. Line up my mark here and my mark up here and trim. Pull that off. Let's put the layout back on here and see what our next step will be. Okay, so we'll get that barn on there. And it looks like my barn is a little bit larger, so I should double check. Oh, nope, it overhangs on the silo a little bit. So even though my first thought was, oh, I think maybe I cut that too big because it didn't bump up against the silo, when I looked at the picture, I can see that that's going to be in front of the silo just slightly. Okay, so that's a great design tip. Let's see, cut from marking to marking to get the angle of the roof. Adhere red barnwood texture paper to the layout along the left edge, but slightly overlap the silo as well. Okay, so as I read further, we came to the same conclusion, the right conclusion. So we can adhere this down, and it is going to overlap the silo just like we thought. Let's go on to step number 5. Cut 1/2-inch strips from the corrugated tin texture paper. Adhere along the top angled straight edges for the roof. Trim with your scissors. Okay, so we're going to be creating these, the metal barn roof. Okay, so this is the corrugated steel, this corrugated tin. So just like the base paper that we had, this is the other side of it. And you get 2 pieces of the paper in the paper packs. So this is the second one. And we're going to cut 1/2-inch strips. And we're going to just put them all along there. So let's get trimming. And I'm going to trim in this direction so that my lines are going like this, just like on the paper. If I did this, I would have long strips. That would be okay too. But I am going to do it just like the other. And my 1/2-inch mark is right here. So I'm going to bump my paper up to the 1/2-inch mark. And I'm just going to guess, but I think this is going to take 2 strips. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces to complete that barn roof. And then we are going to cut those and adhere those down. So how do I want to do that? I think I will just do a little mark there with my scissors and give that a trim. And let's see if I did it right. You never know. Okay, there's one side. I will just adhere that down. And then this one is going to go just like that. So I'm just going to and this side I'll just trim off equal with the edge, but this one I can see is going to stick up a little bit too high. So I'm just going to trim that off like that. Last piece, I'm going to go across. And we'll do it kind of like that. And it looks like this one's going to stick up a little bit too, so I will just trim that as well. Okay, so I'm going to cut it about right there. And this is another one of those things where you just kind of guess. And we'll see how it goes. But remember, let's see if we can trim that just slightly, because we're going to be covering that up. And let's double check that one more time. That looks really good. I like that a lot. I will just adhere that down. Looks really good. Okay, we have our barn roof done, and then I will just trim this little piece off just like that. Cut a piece of white cardstock to measure 7 by 6.5 and adhere that to the front of the barn. All right, let's get that done. And I did already cut this as well. So here's my white, and we're going to adhere that down. So I'm going to not put it down just yet because I don't know if that's going to fit right at the base or not. But then it also asks me to cut 2 pieces of hot fudge cardstock to measure 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I've got 2 of those. Those are going to make the barn doors just like this. And that is what is going to form the mat for our photos. The next thing it's asking me to do, tear the straw texture paper, and then we're going to adhere that. Okay, so this is the straw texture paper. So it looks like we're just tearing it, and it's starting about here and it's ending right about there. And yeah, it looks like it's just a free form tear. So for all you type A's, I'm sorry. You probably are cringing a little bit, but it just wants us to tear. Let's see. Just however you want to. There's no right or wrong. We're just tearing paper. And I want to end it about right there. So that's kind of the the mark I'm going for here. Let's see if I can. That's about right. So it kind of went like that and sort of ended there. And it looks like they might even have another little piece along the bottom there that they've got the flowers kind of tucked into. So I'm just going to tear one more little piece. It's kind of a weird tear, but you know, hey, we'll make it work. So kind of a layer. Now, what I have noticed is sometimes you have to tear it from the other direction to get the little bit of the white to show. And so it's going to be up to you if you want this little bit of white to show. I'm kind of re-tearing just so that I can get some of that white. And I will sort of do that down below there, and then I will just cut this off at the bottom, so I'm not too worried about that. But that kind of gives me an idea of where I want my photos to be placed and where I want the straw to be placed based on the pictures I'm using. So I'm going to use these two pictures. Look at my little granddaughter. She was a little there. She's 2.5 now, but this was our first pumpkin patch. And I don't have anything down in this corner of the photo, so I don't mind covering that up. But if this was my focal picture and there was an important part of it down in the bottom of the picture, I wouldn't want the straw to be so high. So that's kind of what I'm going by. All right. So I think I will kind of center it. I have it about 1/2 inch from the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this white card base down and then add my photo mats and pictures and my straw, and I will be back in a minute. Now when I put the straw down, I'm looking in the picture and I'm noticing it's coming down and it's showing one more of these little pieces of the silo. So it's going to be up to you if you want to tear a little bit more off yours, which I think I might do. So just a quick little adjustment tear. Remember, we are just eyeballing things and there's no such thing as perfection, but I did want a little more of that to show. So it wouldn't have been wrong the other way. It just would have been different. So I'll just put enough adhesive on here. So I'm just lining up my corner and along my bottom and like that. All right, and here's the other little piece. When you look really closely, you can see there's another little piece and they've kind of tucked the flowers in. I don't think I'm going to use the flowers on mine. Not that I don't love the flowers. I think they're really cute. But, and the only thing I don't like is I don't want to follow the exact same curve twice. So I am going to just pull a little more paper off to make that more of a straight line. In fact, I might even take it down over here just to create a different, it's still a little bit the same. I know, not supposed to be so picky, right? I do like that better. I'll take a little more so you can see the white here. And I'm just going to adhere that into place there. Okay, so now that we've got this straw on there, we've adhered our two photos, and I did that actually before I did the straw because I wanted those tucked underneath. So now it says cut a piece of diamond metal plate designer paper to measure 1 1/4 by 3/4. Cut the top quarters of it at an angle and adhere to the top of the barn. So we're going to do this little perch thing that's going to go at the top of the barn. I think I still have a piece left from here. Let me see what I can find. Okay, so this is the other end of the piece that we used for that. So let's go ahead and cut that. And that says 1 3/4 by 3/4. So we're going to cut a 3/4 inch piece, not very big. And I am going to use my 3/4 line right there. I like this trimmer for so many things, but one is I can measure my 3/4 inch that way and cut it off using this measurement, or I can use this side. It goes 2 inches on that side as well. So a 3/4 inch piece. So that's just a little bit. And it wants me to cut the top corners, and I'm not going to measure this. I am just going to do it because it's just such a little corner from that piece. So it's just not going to matter. So I will just kind of give it a quick little trim there. And oh, look at this. Okay, so see how that angle can fit right against that line? That's pretty handy. So that's what I'm going to do to cut the other corner. I'm just going to line it up right there. Perfect. Look at that. I love it when happy little accidents happen. And who was it that said that? That painter. I can't think of his name. Okay, so that's going to go up there. And we're just going to go ahead and put some adhesive on it and add that to the top of the barn. I have to tell you, none of our barns have that, but that's okay. We actually took our last barn that was made out of wood down. It had some structurally unsound things with the big beams that went across, and it was kind of a dangerous situation, so unfortunately came down. But I did save some of my my scrap red barn wood, and we made a few mementos out of that. And I still have the big sliding door. I saved that. I don't know what I will ever do with it, but I loved it, and it's in the back of our pole barn, just waiting for a great idea. So if you have any, be sure to share. Next, we are going to cut a piece of hot fudge cardstock to measure 2.5 by 2.5 inches. All right, so the hot fudge cardstock is our dark brown cardstock. Okay, so it wants me to cut that 2.5 by 2.5. So I'm going to measure it here. This is a 2 1/4. So that piece won't work, even though that was a nice scrap that I had on hand. Let's see. Okay, this is 2.5. And I'm just going to cut that into a square. So here is my 2.5 inch square piece. And then it wants me to take a piece of the gold paper and measure 2 1/4. And that is 2 1/4. And then also one out of the teal sable blanket, 2 1/4. All right, so I have my 3 pieces. Okay, so it wants us out of these 2 to cut corner to corner. So I'm going to put the corner right on my cutting line, just like that. And then a little tip here is I can put both of these sides flat against the top and put the tip on my cutting line for a perfect cut. That is just awesome. I can do it down on this end as well. Okay, now I have my pieces cut, and let's see what we're going to do with those. Oh, we're going to do this little barn sign that goes up at the top. We're going to create the barn crest, and then we're going to attach this to the top of the barn using our foam squares. So I hope that when you're seeing me do this kind of in action, that what you're seeing is I'm just thinking it through like you would be thinking it through, and that you find tips and tricks that are helping you not just with this project, but thinking through your next projects as well. Okay. Okay, so we had taken the square and we had cut it from corner to corner and corner to corner. So I had 4 pieces like this. Then I went to place them on here and I'm thinking, that's taking up more than half of what I need. So I took this piece and I cut it in half one more time to get these smaller pieces, and then I tried it and I think that is the size that we need. So I think we just need 2 of these pieces and we can put the other 2 aside. I'm going to cut these in half. And this is just kind of trying and seeing what works, and I hope that if you give this a try that I've saved you some steps. Okay, so it's a little bit of a puzzle here. I don't know how many of you are like Wordle people or anything like that, but I do like puzzles and games, and so this is kind of fun for me to just kind of figure out like a little puzzle, what angle these need to go on in order to complete the design. Just like that. And put another one in there. And the last piece in place. Okay. So I'm going to adhere these down and then we will add the sticker and put this down on our page. Okay, I have the barn crest put together, and this is one of the ways I love using this multi-purpose tool. So this is the sticker, and I just cut it out of a sheet so that it was separate, but you're going to pull it away from the backing, and I usually do it like this, so it's stuck right to this, and it just keeps my fingers out of the way. So this is just centered right here. And then it has a little star on the side. So I'm going to add the star. And again, I'm just going to, I kind of push the, the backing paper down and lift that. And it's just so simple when you go to place something. So I'll add that right on there. And then we're going to place this here, but we're going to pop it up with foam squares, which I have right here. And these come in 2 sizes, the tiny ones and the larger ones. And I think I use the tiny ones more, but this is a nice size for this. And I've had people ask me, how close do you get to the edge? You want it supported, but it doesn't have to be super close to the edge. I don't like it close to the edge because I don't like the foam squares to show when I look at my layout. So I keep them a little ways away from the edge. And then we're going to, it looks like it's more toward the top rather than toward here. So we'll just give that a little thing there. For our journaling, it has us using 1/2-inch strips for the journaling here. And let's see. Okay, I have a couple, and I actually cut my strips 5/8 of an inch rather than a 1/2 inch because I write a little bit larger. And so we just need to cut a couple strips that are going to go along the bottom here. And it looks like there are 2 different sizes. So I'm going to just tear that one off at about that length. And this one a little bit shorter. Now keep in mind, you can literally just leave those torn and that would be really cute. These have like a little banner style on the end. And so you can either come in with your scissors and snip an end like this, which is pretty easy to do. If you're type A, you might not enjoy that because you might not feel like it's super even. The other thing we have is in our last surprise box, we got an exclusive tool, and this is a little banner edge. So I can show you how I will just slide this in here, and I move it over and just kind of get it so it looks like it's really straight there. And then I can just snip off this last little piece. So there is a perfect banner. If you did not get that surprise box, you missed out on that, and you do not want to miss the next one. We're going to have those, I believe, 4 times a year, so be watching for that. Okay, and I'm not going to adhere that down yet because I'm going to do my journaling. And then adhere the stickers using the foam squares for some added dimension. Journal as desired. And that is their last step. So they have this cute little easy living sticker, which is right here. And then they have the windmill and a little flower. And so I have those cut out as well, so I can adhere those. But I didn't really want the easy living sticker on this page. I just wanted it to be a little different. This was when we went to the pumpkin patch. And so I just kind of wanted to show you how I created something that looked similar on a piece of the red barnwood paper. So it's this barnwood paper, and I did make mine just a little bit larger. And I wanted to write Dick's Farm, and I wanted them to be the same distance. If you'll look at this one, easy is a little bit larger letter than living, but they fit them so they fit nicely in that box. Well, I had one size of letter stickers, and so I put Dick's down, and then I put my F down and my M down so that I could keep my edges even. And then I filled in the A, and I just need my R, and then I will be done. So my sheet of sticker letters, again, using the multi-purpose tool, and going in there and just grabbing that letter off of there, and then placing it. So this is so nice because my fingers don't get in the way. Just place my R down there and put that into place, and we are good to go. So I'm going to just put this all together, and I'll show you the finished product. And here's my final finished page. I have layered the windmill and flower sticker over here on the base of this photo, and I have recreated that little instead of the sticker, I've used paper and my letter stickers to put a personalized title there. And I have added my journaling, and everything is complete. I love how this turned out. I love this new Wide Open Places collection. I hope that you love it as much as I do. Even more, I hope you create something with it. Use the blog post or do something that you love, but get those favorite papers out and your favorite pictures and put them on your page. Thanks so much for scrapbooking with me today. We went a little more in depth so you could really see the progress step by step. I also have an amazing Facebook community that I hope you'll consider joining for more tips and ideas, as well as amazing support from creative women just like you. Until next time, have fun, be creative, and do something meaningful today.